Hello chums and welcome to another slice of YouTube internet bullshit. It's a massive waste of your time and mine. It's Tech Spurt Weekly. Now, I realise that a lot of these shows have basically just started with me whining on about how rubbish everything is. So I decided to perk us all up this week by making a list of things that we can still enjoy in 2020 as the apocalypse looms ever closer. So this right here is what I came up with. So first of all, of course, we have booze. Precious booze. It is good for what ails you, unless what ails you is liver cirrhosis, in which case maybe try tea or something instead, I guess. Next up, we have rainbows. They're still a thing. So if you're into rainbows, then hooray, 2020 hasn't stomped them into a colourful oblivion just yet. And on the flip side, if you don't like statues, then it's been a pretty good week for you as well. Nice one. Then I kind of trailed off a bit. Ham sandwiches, I guess, are still good. Ed Sheeran is still officially retired for music I had, but then just this week he said he's going to start writing songs again. So yeah, you 2020. Yeah, you know what, everything is still pretty shite, isn't it? So let's just stop all this happy clappy bollocks and crack on with it. Roll credits. Tech Spurt Weekly. So let's start as ever with tech news, and it's actually been a relatively dry week this week as far as the tech shenanigans go. Lots of web whisperings, however, around the upcoming OnePlus Z. And yes, my American chums, I did say Z, get over it. Though apparently, according to lots of different leak mongers, the more affordable OnePlus handset, which is expected to be launching in the next sort of month or two, could actually be called the OnePlus Nord rather than the OnePlus Z. Nord meaning north in a whole bunch of languages like French, Danish, Swedish. So what I'm hoping for here is a proper northern phone, right down to the northern voice assistant. So for instance, you can say, "Hey Daz, I'm feeling hungry," and it'll direct you to the nearest Greggs for a bit of peas pudding. And if you live south of Sheffield, it'll refuse to answer you at all because you're a soft southern ponce. And apparently the OnePlus Nord, or whatever it ends up being called, is launching on July the 10th, so really not long at all to go now, exactly a month in fact. Although I'm not sure if that's for all regions. There's been a lot of whisperings about India. Maybe it'll launch UK, Europe at the same time, or maybe it'll come a little bit later. And further rumours suggest it'll cost 400 quid here in the UK, so not as cheap as the original OnePluses or that OnePlus X, which we had a little while back, but still a lot more affordable than the likes of the OnePlus 8. So here's the leaked specs and everything so far, but just a heads up, don't get all up in my grill if this turns out to be a huge heap of bullshit. It's just the usual internet bollocks. As the latest leaks point to a 6.55-inch OLED display with a 90Hz refresh rate, so quite similar to the OnePlus 8. Some rumours also say a 6.4-incher potentially, which I personally prefer something a bit more compact. Could be powered by a MediaTek Dimensity, but most likely going to be the Snapdragon 765G, good for staying entertained, good bit gaming on the go. Still a strong performer, but on the cheap, and it's got built-in 5G as well, so you might still get a 5G OnePlus smartphone for 400 quid, which would be great. 6 gigs of RAM, 4300 mAh battery, same as the OnePlus 8. And as far as the camera tech goes, looks like potentially another triple lens setup, 64 megapixel primary plus a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle and a 2 megapixel depth sensor, so no telephoto action. And yeah, that could all be total bump, but to me it sounds pretty likely, and it sounds like the OnePlus Nord will be a strong competitor to the likes of the Motorola Edge, the Nokia Ep19 5G at a cheaper price point, so definitely very promising indeed. And now it's time for the part of the show that's about as entertaining as the rotten, bloated, diseased, stinking corpse of a murder clown. It's viewer comments. Woo! Viewer comments. So a big thanks to everyone who watched the show last week, and an even bigger thanks to everyone who's actually still watching this week as well, always a bonus. Let's start as ever with Sony's Xperia 1 Mark II. What else? And good news on that front, because Sony has updated me. The UK sample should be with us very, very soon indeed. Touchwood, fingers crossed. So stay tuned for my full unboxing, and of course more news on that live Ask Me Anything evening. Beer, fun, games, and at long last, Sony's flagship smartphone. Although to be honest, it'll probably mostly just be the beer and the phone. I can't guarantee the fun and games part. But as I say, on the night we'll be raising money for an anti-racism charity, so stay tuned for more information on that on my Twitter feed at Tech Spurt Video. And as usual, we had a few Sony related comments. So some tech bloke says, "I've already pre-ordered my Xperia 1 Mark II, not long to wait now at all. In fact, I think it goes on general release in a week's time, which is great." MC Kaluge says, "Hi Chris, why has Sony only launched the black and purple colours for the Xperia 1 Mark II and not the white colour also? Well, here in Blighty, your only choice appears to be black if you go on the Sony website and on O2 and the rest as well. Where's a bit of forest green or that sexy Bordeaux red from the Xperia XZ3? We definitely need some of those more luscious, lovely, vibrant colours, Sony, so come on, get your act together." Tom G says, "Chris, I'm seriously considering the Xperia 1 Mark II, but the only 2 years of software support that Sony offers for their mobiles puts me off a bit, especially for that price tag." Yeah, fair enough. The Xperia 1 Mark II is likely to see 2 full years of OS and security updates. I know what you mean. Obviously, phones these days, they're built to last. They generally last, 3, 4 years quite happily. So it's kind of annoying if the software just gets cut off basically after a couple of years. But unfortunately, that is pretty much standard. I think it's basically just like the Pixel phones and Android One smartphones from the likes of Nokia that do offer the full 3 years of security updates. Darkus Hydronoids, great name, says, if it's any consolation, I think you're a pretty good Transformer. Not quite Megatron, but good. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about the Decepticons, so definitely big hairy bollocks to the Autobots. And yeah, I'm definitely not aspiring to Megatron levels of greatness, although all of his plots failed anyway, just like all of these baddies. They're rubbish, never follow through. But yeah, I'd be happy just being a Shockwave or something like that. What was that other dude called as well, the one with the really weird hilarious name? There's a site here called Topless Robot, which has got a big old list of all the worst names. Clench and Thrust, I can't remember them. Jesus Christ, clearly my childhood brain has blocked that well out of there. Wide Lord Power Hug, Gas Skunk. Why can I not remember any of these guys? Policeman Pete, Drill Nuts. Oh wow, now that is good. I'm gonna drill your nuts, man. Discharge. Oh god, don't invite that guy to your wedding. Definitely not. Windbreaker, is that the one I'm thinking of? There was definitely one that sounded like he just had a dodgy Vindaloo or something, which obviously massively appealed to my highbrow sense of humour. Anyway, before we change the name of the show to Chris Google stuff, let's crack on. So next up, Lego Daniel says, are you excited about the Motorola E 2020? So yes, our great mates at Motorola apparently haven't stopped chugging the Red Bull. They're still putting out a new smartphone every couple of days. Love them. So the Moto E series of smartphones, if you're not aware, it's their super bargain basement budget efforts. Usually cost around sort of £100 to £150 mark tops, sometimes at under 100 quid, but they're usually hampered by quite stuttery performance. Usually they're running a MediaTek chipset with only 1 or 2 gigs of RAM, which obviously ain't enough. Here you actually get a Snapdragon 632 chipset though, which is interesting, although still only 2 gigs of RAM, so I reckon it still ain't gonna be silky smooth. 32 gigs of storage, but you do get half a terabyte micro SD expansion, which is great. 3550 milliamp battery, which should hopefully see you through a full day. 6.2 inch 720p display, good for that sort of price, should be good. Dual lens camera, dual band Wi-Fi, no NFC, but you know, you've got to make some sacrifices. And a bit of stock Android 10, way! And all for around $150 US, so hopefully no more than sort of 120, 130 quid here. Touch wood. And yes, I will probably bring you an unboxing / review thing at some point. Why not? Still waiting on that Moto G Stylus, but Moto G Pro as it's known here, but hopefully that'll be soon too. Next up, Peter says, what is the worst phone that you've ever reviewed? That's really tough. I mean, these days, even the bad ones tend to be just mediocre at best, or 3-star efforts, whereas back in the day of good old Android, what was it, Eclair, Froyo and Gingerbread, there were so many terrible Android handsets. For a start, most of them only had like a 3 or 4 inch screen, which is great in your nice compact smartphone until you wanted to write an email or a text message or anything. And then all of a sudden, the virtual keyboard would take up pretty much the entire screen, so you couldn't even see what the hell you were typing. And the screens themselves were those horrible resistive efforts where you had to apply proper pressure in order to make your touches actually register. So you'd literally be stabbing the smartphone trying to type in a message. Good luck swiping and things, that never worked. But there are a few notable crap phones from history that stand out in my mind. The Blackberry Passport being one, that I don't even know what they were smoking when they came up with that thing. And another great thing, Blackberry fanboys are the absolute worst. If you give any of those Blackberry phones less than 4 stars, then basically brace for impact. Honestly, the reaction in the comments was like you just smashed your way in through their living room window, curled a massive steamer on the carpet, flipped off their mum, punted the cat across the room and then pissed off out again. Next up, Kieran says, I really like your videos, is this your full-time job? Oh, thanks Kieran, I'm glad that someone does. And it's not quite my full-time job yet, although it's definitely taken up a lot more of my time than it used to, that's for damn sure. So it's basically just replaced sleep in my schedule, hence, I love coffee! Woo! Jake the dog, back on the subject of the Slam Dunk Festival, just making me sad now, man. I was looking forward to 4 Years Strong, Bury Tomorrow and Ice 9 Kills. The Silver Scream is insanely good. Agreed, sir. It's just banger after banger. Yeah, the thought of seeing that live just, it makes me cry now. It's probably not going to happen for at least another year or two, but whatever. Oh, and the subject of metal, I'm really loving that Ghost Inside album that dropped last week. That's really good. So if you're into your sort of metal, your hard rock, then definitely check that out. But to be honest, this week I've mostly just been listening to kiddie crap on YouTube, entertaining my daughters. And you know what? That stuff is infectious as hell, man. It gets in there and it will not go. So this week I've been making dinner or something and just been singing to myself, everything's covered in glitter, glitter. And frankly, I've been tempted to take the potato peeler to my head. Next up, Matthew Williams says, as someone who is getting depressed about losing my hair, you make me feel better. Is that because you haven't lost quite as much as me yet? Or because I've shown you there is life after baldness. Matt continues, have you ever considered ripping off your fans by offering cheap Tech Spurt merch or offering things in a Patreon account? God, no, I absolutely hate all of that. Every time you go to any kind of launch event anywhere, there's always at least one YouTube influencer guy sat there in his personalized branded t-shirt, and it always reminds me of that South Park guy, this guy here. Although of course if I ever did do Tech Spurt merchandise, you know for sure it would be top quality premium stuff like bog roll with my face printed on it, or maybe an eyebrow styling kit that could do quite well. Maximum face brush, just £3. Next up, Mr. Fester says, what is going on with Nokia? I've seen videos of the 6.3, the 7.3 popping up. Are they actually coming out ever? Yeah, unfortunately it seems like COVID has really shagged the production line for HMD Global particularly hard compared with a lot of the other manufacturers. So the latest web whisperings say that the likes of the 6.3, the 7.3 and the 9.3 or whatever it ends up being the flagship one won't be launching until the end of Q3, so basically around sort of September time. So I hope you're the patient type. Next up, Daniel Manoli says, looking for a good budget smartwatch for my Black Shark 2. Any recommendations please? And on that topic, Matthew Poole says, are you going to review the Realme watch at 50 quid? Seems like a no-brainer. Yeah, that Realme watch definitely seems to be crazy good value for money. I really hope it lives up to the sort of the general promise. I mean, obviously for 50 quid you've got to expect a few sacrifices here and there. It obviously takes inspiration from the Apple Watch in its design. Hopefully it won't feel too plasticky or anything. It's actually IP68 water and dust resistant as well, which is incredible at that sort of price. Got all the features you would hope for from a smartwatch, like a built-in heart rate monitor, can even monitor your oxygen levels in your blood, all the usual notifications and sports tracking jazz. So yeah, so fingers crossed, I'll definitely be reviewing it at some point, so stay tuned for that. As for other budget smartwatches, I'm a fan of the Mobvoi TicWatch range as well. There might be a new TicWatch coming towards the end of the month. Wink wink, nudge nudge, prod prod. So stay tuned for more on that. And last up, I better make this the last comment because we're charging on in time. Siam says, is Huawei the only Chinese phone banned from using Google services? Yeah, so far at least. Let's see what the rest of 2020 holds in store. Especially as even if Trump doesn't get another 4 years in the Oval Office, he's still got, what, like 2-3 months or whatever after the election results to basically do whatever the hell he likes. So hooray! So a quick look at the week ahead, and once again looks rather sparse in the old tech launch calendar. There's bugger all going on, to be perfectly honest, but hopefully that Xperia 1 Mark II will be coming in, touch wood. Again, don't hold your breath just in case, because things have been kind of screwed up as far as deliveries go with all of the COVID shenanigans and everything. But as I say, as soon as that comes in, I'll get you a full unboxing and tour, and definitely be announcing details on that live Ask Me Anything charity evening over on Twitter, so go check that out. So all that remains is to say, stay safe wherever you are, love each other, be awesome. Sorry, I've watched that Bill and Ted trailer, so I'm sort of I've turned into Bill and Ted. But have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you very much for all of your comments. Please slap more comments down below and we'll get to as many of those as possible this time next week. Cheers, everyone. Love you.